Nice and like chill on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah, I do the donut pose on Instagram. I hold a donut in front of my face and then write a long caption. And it started because I just didn't have a picture, and I was at the gym and needed one, so I just grabbed my donut and took a selfie, and now people do the donut pose all over the world.
No matching dumbbells in this gym.
What's going on, everyone? This is Julian and I am with
Amanda.
And today's a really special video because we have a really special person, like everyone is, and I just want to jump right into it. So Amanda, when you're first meeting somebody for the first time, how do you introduce yourself?
When I'm first meeting someone, I usually introduce myself as this is like so hard, a social media influencer. I make YouTube videos and I host a podcast. I kind of say what I do as opposed to like a title, because there's kind of a lot of different ones, kind of widespread.
Right. And podcast, that's something that really separates you from a lot of people, because a lot of people have fitness YouTube channels. It's something that's really popular now, and I'm not saying that to sway anybody from doing it. That's actually a good thing that we have more information out there. But what made you start a podcast?
I love doing YouTube videos. I love making them. I love being creative, and I love showing people a story, but I also like telling a story. And I feel like with a podcast, I can get way more in depth with whatever the subject is, and sometimes with YouTube videos I want to get more in depth, but with a video you kind of want to keep people engaged and keep them like watching a visual story as opposed to just sitting and talking about something. So I like hitting two different markets too, because there's plenty of people that want to listen to a podcast if they're commuters, travelers, if you're on an airplane, or if you're just driving for like an hour to work every day. It's just an easier way to consume content, and I wanted to hit that market as well. And not only that, but I think podcasting is like the best way to make friendships and relationships. I think the fact that I do all my podcast interviews in person too with people that I'm interviewing, I get to make a relationship and a friendship with whoever it is that I want to interview.
That's beautiful. And as far as podcasts, what's probably your favorite, or one that you've learned from, or somebody who runs their own podcast that you one day hope to be a guest on yours?
So someone that I would love to have a guest on my podcast would be Lewis Howes. He's actually my mentor, and I would love to have him on my podcast. But in terms of like getting people that I want to make a relationship with and have on my podcast to do that, I want to provide as much value to them first before I go and ask them for anything. But one of my favorite interviews so far, there's so many of them, I don't really know. Let me think about that really quick. Favorite interview. So I interviewed my friend Ariana Dantone, and her interview got really deep and personal about her anxiety and depression issues. And then I think just those like really deep personal interviews and like just really digging deep about whatever topic it is, I think can really help connect other people emotionally to whatever the person's going through, and it just helps open up that topic that might be like less discussed because it's kind of controversial.
Something that you touched on that I kind of like want to dig at a bit more. You said that before you ask anybody for anything, you kind of want to provide them value. So I think that's phenomenal. But how do you provide somebody value who already has so much, right? Somebody like Lewis Howes, if I want to connect with him, I want him to be my mentor. How do I go about providing him value? You get it? You get it?
Right.
Because I think a lot of people feel that way. They don't have maybe the resources, or they don't have a particular skill set. So it's like, how would somebody go about that?
Yeah, so I mean, it honestly just depends. I think just being friendly to someone, as in terms of like someone that you think is like up here, I think talking to them like they're on your level, and talking to them as if they're a friend to you as opposed to someone who's way up here. I think that's really important in terms of creating a relationship with someone that you want to be on the same level as. Kind of just like faking it until you make it is kind of a good way to go about interacting with people, because otherwise they kind of just view you, if you look up to them, they have no choice but to look down on you, if that makes sense. Like drop.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
And then another thing that, I mean, like, I'm in Lewis's mastermind program, so I actually paid to be in his program. And not only, but like, not everybody has the resources to pay to work with someone, but if you have that option, that's something that provides them value immediately, and then you build a relationship with them. So that's not always like the number one option. That's not like the best answer, and that's not what people usually want to hear, is to like pay for people's time. But those people that everybody wants a little minute of their time, that might be something that you have to do, whether it's like go travel to where they are, or like pay to be in a program of theirs or something like that.
That's actually really beautiful. And whatever product they may have, even if it's a pen, a book, a pamphlet, you're basically showing them, hey, you're important enough to me that I'm gonna save up, even if $5 is a lot of money for me, I'm gonna save it up and I'm gonna buy it. And then maybe sending them an email, hey, Amanda, I bought your $5 ebook and I would love to ask you X, Y, and Z. It just sets you apart from everyone else who can just click on Amanda's videos or just like and double tap a photo. Now, you speaking about Lewis Howes is he does a lot of speaking engagements, right?
He does.
And I'm sure that you are a part of that now. How do you transition into that? Like, how do you come up with your story, your sort of theme? Like, how did you get into that? Because I think that's fascinating.
I mean, when it comes to coming up with my story, you kind of just have to think about what you've gone through, what you've done, what you've accomplished, what kind of credibility you have in the space that you want to be in, and then how you overcame it. I think that's the separator of a lot of people. It's not just telling their story and like their struggles. It's like what you did to overcome that, and how you have gone on the other side and have like continued to push through. Because everyone's trying to figure out how they can push through their own struggle, and if you show that you've pushed through something, then you're kind of a figure of authority for whatever that is.
So,
answer your question?
No, that answers it perfectly. Now, one question, many people may feel like their story isn't sort of important enough, or their struggle wasn't important enough. So how do you get over that? Maybe before you give a speech to 15, 20 people, you're like, I don't even think that my obstacle is even that, big. So it's like, how do you get over that?
Right, and I think that there's obviously plenty of people that have gone through way worse things than you, and then you might think of that as like, well, my story's not that bad. Like, personally, for me, for example, like, I didn't come from a bad family. I didn't like have a bad upbringing. Like, my family was like decently well off. Like, I still like worked as a waitress and stuff, so it wasn't like I had a Lamborghini when I was 16 or whatever. But either way, like, that's something that people have gone through that I haven't gone through, but there's still an emotional connection to every single experience people have. So if you just figure out, like, of course, like, everyone's situation is different, but whatever emotional experience and change that you've gone through, that is what people connect to the most. So if you can connect that to whatever you're doing, then in turn people will connect that to whatever they're going through.
And have you got any help building that story?
I think I've got a lot of practice, because when I make YouTube videos, I think I've made like 300 something YouTube videos at this point, so I've got a lot of practice talking about my story, and then people ask about it, and it kind of forced me to like really nail it down.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, one thing that I know about you, you've recently, I don't know if you read it or you was listening to an audiobook of the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss.
Yep.
And since you are into podcasts, do you listen to Tim Ferriss for his podcast?
Yeah, I definitely listen to Tim Ferriss' podcast. He puts a ton out there, and I try to listen as much as I can, but he's someone that I definitely look up to in terms of like the podcasting world, the entrepreneurial world, just because he's like absolutely killed it, and his stuff is like very interesting and super, super helpful, especially the 4-Hour Workweek. That's actually a book that I would rather have in hand, because there's like lists and lists of resources in there that are like super helpful. But just kind of like the things that he says just really change my mindset and framework about a lot of different things in life.
Is there anything in particular after reading the 4-Hour Workweek that you were able to implement in your?
Yeah, in particular in the 4-Hour Workweek, I really connected to the whole like automate your life type thing. But I want to automate as much as I can to make my life more efficient, but I don't want to automate as to where I'm taking away like personal relationships with people and clients and students and stuff like that. But automating things and like delegating tasks have not only just helped my life quality improve, but they've helped me gain more headspace.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, I just want to wrap up with this because you guys saw we just came from a killer workout. Those ropes were intense. I started sweating just filming them. Now, this is something that I think is really important. You studied nursing, right? And you were like this close. You took your test. I believe you failed the first time, then the second one you passed, correct? And as far as that goes, a lot of people feel whenever they put a lot of time and energy into something that they have to continue, right? It's like, I got my degree in this, or this is all I know. How do you tell that person like, hey, it's okay and you didn't waste your time, so to speak?
Yeah.
That sunken cost fallacy that people, deal with.
Yeah, that's absolutely something that people go through, and I think it's something that stops people from moving forward because they're like, I've just used all of this energy, time spent, years spent, and money spent on this thing that I was going to do. But my thought process is that if you start now, how much more happiness would you gain just by starting? And it's really, that's like what we're all searching for in life. And if you know that that thing that you spent all that time on isn't going to be bringing you happiness in the long term, that's what we're all like searching for, right? Like that's what we're all like wanting to get every single day is like, what's going to make me really happy? And if you think it's following through with whatever society tells you or your family tells you should do or what you should do isn't always what's going to make you like the best, like allow you to have the best life possible.
I love that. So it's just a matter of like from today moving forward, what's going to bring me the most happiness. Now, there's one thing that you said about if you look up to somebody, they have no choice but to look down on you. And I think that's incredible. And one thing I have to say, and I've said this to her maybe 3 times off camera, but I'm going to say it again because it deserves all the praise.
Thank you.
Amanda, seriously, when I first met her, I'm talking about the first time I've ever met her, she never knew what I did. She didn't recognize me. I don't, anything. But she treated me as an equal. And you know what? I'm going to go as far to say she treated me almost as if she wanted something from me. Almost as if like there was some sort of reward in engaging with me. So it's like, how can other people be more like that? Because I think that's a beautiful quality.
I think it's just more coming down to the fact that like, it's that golden rule, like treat other people how you would want to be treated. And I view everybody as important, and like every single person has a story. Every single person has something that they've like been through in their life. And I've heard so many people's stories, like being an influencer and having a lot of people follow you or whatever. So many people have like given me their story and like told it to me. So every single time I look at a person, I'm just like, you have something that is paragraphs and like books long that you can talk about. So I always just appreciate people coming up to me. And I love meeting people, so if you ever see me in the gym, I'll like absolutely stop what I'm doing and say hi to you. Like it's not a big deal to me, because I love building relationships with people.
Right, and why Gold's Gym? Why do you train here?
I train here because I love living here. When I first got here, it was just like the Mecca, and now just like the energy in here, I just absolutely love training here because there's so many cool people here, and I think it's kind of cool that people know that I train here and like come say hi if like they happen to be in the area and stuff like that. So it's just really good energy in there because everyone's working really hard.
Nice. And just to close off, I'm going to use something that her mentor, a question that he uses on his podcast.
Oh boy.
It's at the end, and it's called the 3 truths, right? So it's like, if this is your last day on earth, we're going to delete your Instagram, all your YouTube videos, your blog, all the Project Me's, everything. Everything's going, Amanda. There's nothing left. What are the 3 things that you would like to leave, or something, the 3 things that you know to be true to yourself and that you would want to leave on this earth?
One of those things is definitely the fact that you can't please every single person. So as long as you're pleasing yourself, making yourself happy, as long as you're making yourself happy in any way that you possibly can, that's going to be the most important thing, because without yourself being happy, you can't love anybody else equally as you love yourself. Number 2, people are important. I think that like what we talked about, there's so many people in this world and everybody's important in one way or another. So something that's always a recurring theme in my life is that I always look at people as like they have a story, they have something that I can sympathize with or empathize with, and every single person is important. And then number 3, I think that one's a tough one. Number 3, building confidence in yourself is not a end-all be-all process. It's a brick by brick process, and that's something that I talked about in a recent podcast of mine. Like, you have to build up your confidence brick by brick, and the more things that you can do for yourself that make you more confident, that you've accomplished a challenge, like you've done something really hard and finished it, like any little thing, all of those things are going to help you build your confidence in yourself.
And the last thing I want to say, all 3 of those things she practices and she exudes, so she's extremely genuine. And I wouldn't say that, like, I try to practice, I only talk what I feel to be real, and she is the real deal. I've seen many people, and it's not to be negative, but I've seen many people who, when their fans come up to them, the way they treat them and the way they're standoffish and the way they're rushing them. But this one right here, I'm not even talking about with other fans, I'm talking about with me. Because in the beginning, I was just another fan, I was just another person, and she just treated me with so much respect, and that's something I really loved about her. But anyways, we gotta go, she has to catch a flight, so we're out of here. Bye-bye.
Bye. Aw, that was awesome. You killed it.
We killed it.
You killed it.